A cold wind swept across the Wyoming plains as the stagecoach rattled toward Dust River Ranch. Inside sat Mara Thorne, towering, broad-shouldered, a woman whose size had turned her into a legend long before she arrived. She wasn't truly a giant, but strangers often whispered so. After losing her parents in a mountain accident, she had signed up as a mail-order bride, hoping for a fresh beginning. Still, fear gnawed at her chest. What if the cowboy she was meant to marry feared her too? Her hands trembled as she held the letter that brought her here. The cowboy waiting for her, Colt Harwood, paced outside the barn, brushing dust from his hat. He wasn't expecting a giant bride, but he had written to Mara because her letter sounded honest, brave, and kind. His ranch needed someone strong, someone unshakable. What he didn't expect was the heavy wooden crate delivered that same morning, containing a strange mechanical brace meant to support his injured horse, Starfire. It looked intimidating, full of metal joints and leather straps. He worried how Mara would react when she saw it. When the stagecoach finally stopped, Colt turned toward it, then froze. The woman stepping down looked like she could lift a fallen tree. Tall, solid, with storm-blue eyes and wind-tangled hair, she surveyed the ranch with uncertainty. Mara saw Colt's stunned gaze and felt the familiar stab of insecurity. She had been judged for her height her entire life. But then Colt smiled, genuine, warm, and free of fear, and her breath eased for the first time in months. Before they could speak, Starfire neighed sharply from inside the barn. Colt motioned Mara to follow, hoping to show her the horse she would help care for. But when he opened the barn door, the massive metallic brace swung from a hook in Colt's hands. Mara's eyes widened. She had never seen such a machine. The straps looked like something used for punishment, the steel gears cold and sharp. Colt lifted it toward her, forgetting how frightening it looked without explanation. "Wait, you're putting that inside me," Mara blurted, stepping back instinctively. Her voice echoed off the barn walls, and Starfire snorted nervously. Colt blinked, confused, then realized the misunderstanding. The brace had been positioned at her chest height, and his gesture had been far too abrupt. Her face flushed in embarrassment, but her instinctive fear was real. She had endured enough mockery in life to expect anything strange to be directed at her. Colt quickly lowered the device, shaking his head. No, Mara, this ain't for you. It's for Starfire. She hurt her leg last winter, and this brace helps her walk. I'd never put anything like this near you." His tone was gentle, hoping to soothe the tension. Mara exhaled slowly, embarrassment mixing with relief. She wasn't used to men explaining things kindly. Most simply assumed she should understand or stay silent. Colt guided her to Starfire, a mare with kind eyes but a trembling stance. "She's nervous around strangers," he explained. Mara knelt, despite her size moving with unexpected softness, and extended her hand. Starfire sniffed her palm, then nudged it. The connection was instant. Colt watched in amazement. The horse trusted almost no one. For a moment, the misunderstanding melted into something warm and promising. Still trying to recover from the awkward moment, Mara asked how the brace worked. Colt demonstrated carefully, showing each buckle and hinge. Mara listened intently, her brow furrowed in concentration. She had always been good with her hands and even better with animals. As Colt strapped the brace onto Starfire's leg, Mara steadied the mare with gentle strength, earning another surprised glance from him. Walking outside the barn, Colt led her toward the ranch house. Mara noticed the deep scratches on the porch rail, the broken window frame, and the sagging roof corner. "Your ranch took quite a beating," she murmured. Colt nodded. A storm had ripped through Dust River months earlier, leaving destruction behind. He'd been trying to fix everything alone, refusing to hire help he couldn't afford. Mara saw the exhaustion in his shoulders and the pride he tried to hide. Inside the house, Mara traced her fingers along the dusty mantel. A single photograph rested there, a woman smiling beside a younger Colt. "She was my sister," Colt explained quietly. "Lost her 2 years ago in the same storm that hurt Starfire." Mara's heart softened. She knew grief too well. Though the room felt empty, she sensed the warmth Colt had once known. The silence between them grew heavy, but not uncomfortable, just honest. They shared their first meal together. Simple stew Colt had somehow burned slightly, but Mara ate gratefully. When Colt apologized for the taste, she laughed, a sound she hadn't heard from herself in months. Colt found himself watching her, noticing the gentle expressions that contradicted her intimidating appearance. Mara, meanwhile, felt something she never expected: safety. Later, Colt showed her the spare room he had prepared. The bed frame creaked under her weight, but Mara didn't mind. She ran her hands over the handmade quilt, touched by the effort Colt had put in despite his limited resources. "I know it ain't much," he said softly. Mara shook her head. "It's the kindest place I've seen in a long time." As night deepened, the wind howled outside. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the barn. Starfire neighed in panic. Colt grabbed his lantern and ran, Mara right behind him. Inside, they found the heavy brace half broken on the floor, as if someone, or something, had thrown it. Colt's jaw tightened. This wasn't the wind. Mara felt a chill. Someone had been inside the barn. Colt examined the scattered tools, the hoofprints, the forced latch. Mara knelt beside a deep boot mark, too large to be Colt's. "Someone was here," she whispered. Their eyes met in the lantern light. The misunderstanding from earlier was forgotten, replaced by a shared fear. Something, or someone, was threatening Dust River Ranch. And it was only the beginning. The night stretched heavy over Dust River Ranch as Colt and Mara searched the barn, lantern light shaking in Colt's trembling grip. Whoever had broken in had moved with purpose, nothing stolen, nothing destroyed except the brace. It felt like a message. Mara traced the bent metal with steady fingers. The force used was alarming. Colt clenched his jaw. "My neighbor, Reed Dalton, he's been trying to buy this land for months." Mara looked up sharply. "You think he'd sabotage your ranch?" Colt nodded grimly. "He doesn't like hearing. No." Morning arrived with a crimson sunrise, but the tension from the night lingered. Colt saddled Starfire gently, worried she might relapse without the brace. Mara insisted on helping, her strength steadying him. As they worked, she noticed Colt pausing often, thinking. Finally, he admitted, "Reed wants this land because the new railroad is coming through the valley. If I lose the ranch, he gets first claim." Mara felt anger rise. She had seen bullies her whole life. She wouldn't let another take what Colt had bled to protect. They headed toward town to speak with Sheriff Allerton. On the dusty trail, Colt explained how Reed had once been his friend until greed changed him. Mara listened quietly, sensing Colt's frustration. She admired how he never blamed anyone for his hardships, even when life had been cruel. By the time they reached town, Mara had made a silent promise. She would stand by Colt no matter who threatened him. For the first time, she felt she had a place where she belonged. Sheriff Allerton stroked his gray mustache as they explained the break-in. "I've had other complaints about Reed's boys causing trouble," he muttered. "But nothing I can arrest him for, yet." Mara stepped closer, towering over the sheriff, her voice controlled but firm. "Last night wasn't mischief. Someone scared the horse and nearly injured her." Sheriff nodded, understanding the seriousness. "I'll look into it, but be careful. Reed doesn't like being challenged." On the way back, the wind picked up dust along the trail. Mara spotted movement in the distance, riders. 3 of Reed's men galloped past, smirking at Colt as they rode. One tipped his hat mockingly. Mara's hands tightened on the reins. "They're watching us," she said. Colt swallowed. "They want us to know." Mara's protective instinct surged. No matter her size, she had always avoided conflict. But for Colt, she felt ready to face anything. Back at the ranch, they found the chicken coop broken open and feathers scattered. Colt rushed inside, 4 hens missing. Mara's expression hardened. "They're testing how far they can push you," she said. Colt leaned on the co-op fence, exhaustion etched across his features. "I'm so tired, Mara. Ever since the storm, it feels like the world keeps taking and taking." She rested a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Then let someone stand with you for once." As evening settled, Colt prepared new boards to repair the co-op. Mara joined him, hammering with strength and precision. He watched her work, admiration growing. "You're incredible," he whispered without meaning to. Mara paused, cheeks warming. No one had ever said those words to her, not without sarcasm. Colt continued, "You came here a stranger, but you've helped more in one day than most folks in years." Mara smiled softly. For the first time, she felt truly seen. Just when peace seemed to settle, a gunshot cracked through the yard. Starfire screamed. Colt dropped his hammer and ran outside with Mara close behind. A bullet had grazed the barn door, leaving a fresh splintered mark. Mara scanned the darkness but saw only dust swirling in the wind. Colt clenched his fists. "They're warning me. Tomorrow they'll do worse." Mara stepped in front of him, her silhouette tall and unshaken. "Then tomorrow, we fight back." The next morning, Mara had a plan. She walked with Colt to Starfire and inspected the damaged brace. Using scrap metal, leather straps, and her own ingenuity, she crafted a temporary support. Colt watched in amazement as she shaped the pieces with steady hands. "Where'd you learn that?" She shrugged. "Mountain life teaches you to fix what breaks. No one else will do it for you." As Starfire stood stable again, Colt realized Mara wasn't just strong, she was brilliant. They set up a system of alarms. Tin cans tied to wires, pressure lines on the fence, lanterns positioned to reveal movement. "If Reed's men step anywhere near the ranch tonight, we'll know," Mara declared. Colt smiled for the first time in days, hope flickering in his eyes. For years he had fought alone. Now he felt like he had a partner, someone who didn't give up, didn't run, didn't bend under pressure. Night approached slowly, the sky bruised purple and red. Colt and Mara waited on the porch, rifles resting nearby, lanterns glowing faintly. The ranch felt alive, tense, alert. Mara could sense Colt's worry, but she also sensed courage. "No matter what happens," he said quietly, "I'm glad you came here." Mara turned toward him, her voice soft. "For the first time in my life, I'm glad I came anywhere." Suddenly the first alarm rang, tin cans clattering wildly near the west fence. Mara and Colt rushed forward. Shadows moved between the corral posts. A second alarm sounded near the chicken coop. Reed's men had come in force, hoping to overwhelm them. Colt raised his lantern. "There," he shouted. But before the intruders could advance, Mara stepped out boldly, her tall figure illuminated like a tower of defiance. "This ranch isn't yours," she thundered. "Leave." Reed's men hesitated, startled by her presence. She moved toward them with fearless strides, each step sending dust spiraling. They backed away instinctively. Colt stood beside her, rifle steady but unused. "Tell Reed," Mara said, "that this land stays with Colt." "And so do I." The men exchanged uncertain glances. Mara's strength wasn't just physical, it was unshakable conviction. Unwilling to push their luck, they turned and galloped into the night. When silence finally returned, Colt exhaled shakily. "Mara, you saved everything." She looked at him, realizing the truth, she had saved herself too. For the first time, she wasn't hiding from the world. Colt stepped closer, touching her hand gently. "Stay here, not as a mail-order bride. As someone I choose." Her heart swelled. The wind softened around them, carrying away fear and leaving only hope. And on that quiet night, two wounded souls finally found their home.